Hi, welcome back to another episode of Coldstream Rod Shop. I'm Derek Fraser. This is part 2 of the quarter panel episode for the 32.5 Window Coupes. At the end of the last video, I had already installed this quarter panel, and then I was talking about how I installed it, and then I had a slight mismatch between the fender lip that I had put in before and where the quarter panel was. I didn't adjust this quarter panel simply because when I fit the fender to it, this is actually in the right place. So there's a slight misalignment on the edge of the fender lip. And I had the same issue when I did the back corner. Had a really good line in the center of the fender lip, but as it trailed out, it got a little wonky on me. So just gonna fix it. So what I've done, I've actually cut this piece out, which is the part that I didn't like. I probably only needed to fix the bottom part, but I wanted to have a nice smooth piece. And now right now I've made a piece in here. I've got some magnets holding in place. So if I take the magnets off, you can see. So same thing, I took a larger piece of metal, I bead rolled this edge, I tipped this edge up, and then I put it on the mandrel over there, and I just kind of formed it around the edge. And then in order to get a little bit of a profile to it, went to the shrinking die and just shrinked it until it fit in place. And then it was just a matter of using the mini grinder or clipping the edge here so that it would fit in place. So that piece is ready to fit in. And then right here, there was a little triangle piece that I knew was missing from when I put the fender well in. We're gonna do all that up. We're gonna dolly some of this out. We're gonna fit that little triangle piece in, make the quarter panel meet up with the fender well, and fix this. We'll do that before we go on and we do the other quarter panel. If you watched part 1, you'll realize that I actually made up a second one. So the other piece is actually ready to go on this side. I kind of trial fit it before. So it's just got a little bit of trimming to do before it goes on, and I'll have to cut. If I put it on right now, it's gonna come up against the bullet holes. There's a repair here I'll have to do later, but this episode will be fixing that side, putting this quarter panel on that I already made up to go here. And then over here on the Moncton Coupe, I will make up just the bottom section to go on here. And that'll finish up the quarter panels on the 5 Window Coupes, because earlier on with the Moncton Coupe, on one of the earliest videos, I'd actually made a quarter panel here, and it's already on. So follow along and we'll finish up the quarter panels on the 2 5 Window Coupes. as you can see from the time-lapse videos you just saw, I cut out the old piece. Now, I chose to take the whole section out because the edge was gone. There's a couple bullet holes into it, and there was a section here that was stretched quite badly, which led into the belt line. This belt line was damaged quite a bit, but I was actually able to pound it out. I still got a tiny little bit of work to do onto it, but it's got a pretty decent shape and it's pretty sound. So the decision was made to replace the whole panel. Did the same thing as you saw in the time lapse from the other side, welded it in place. It's welded across the bottom, and at this point I've got a good shape. And if I stick the fender in, which one? This one. I've got a good fit for the fender. Might be a little tiny bit of work I have to do in there, but essentially the fender fits in the hole the way that it's supposed to. So this quarter panel is done. I'm happy with it. Like I said, it's welded in place. I get a decent door gap there. Now we're on to the Moncton Coupe. So next up, in the next day or so, I'll make a piece here. I may have to go up a little higher on this because there was a lot of lead in this car. When I cut this out before, I mean, there was lead about, must have been 3/8 of an inch thick at the bottom. So I'm going to have to clean this off and dress it up and see where I can get into the solid metal and then make a decision of how high I go up. I've got no intention of going up here because it is sound. So it's going to be a partial panel. So watch along, still more to do. Here we are. I made this quarter panel. It's on the Moncton Coupe now. As you saw in a time lapse, I cut out a section where I thought all the lead was. In fact, I still had to cut more still because hidden over here in this corner, there was still probably up to a 1/4 inch of lead that I wanted to cut out, and it was kind of crusty underneath. So I took a little more out than what you saw in the time lapse. But right now, the panel, I made it just like the other ones. You know, laid it out in a paper pattern as you saw in the time lapse. You know, bead rolled this edge, tip this edge up, and then over here, this section here again, it was the same thing. You know, I used the step dies to make this portion, and then fold it over on the brake to make that portion. Same thing we did on the previous 2 times. So this panel right now is ready basically for me to weld in here. So what I'll do is I will weld this in place, I'll dress it up, and then show you the finished product. Here's the finished product of the quarter panel all welded in. Everything's all welded smooth. I mentioned previously that I did a time lapse of actually cutting this out, but I didn't turn the camera on. What you see is basically me buffing up the material here to reveal where the lead was and whatnot. So sorry about that. But anyways, we've got the quarter panel all welded in here. Got a nice shape here for the fenders. It's nice and flush. Most of it's all dollied out. There's probably a little bit I got left to do here once the camera turns off. So that's it for this episode, part 2 of the quarter panels. Finished off the lower section of this quarter panel on the Moncton Coupe, and we did the complete side on the New York Coupe. So next episode, we're going to shift gears a little bit. We're going to start focusing mostly on one coupe at a time, try and get it finished up. So I'll be working on the doors on the next episode, either doing the bottom of the skin or the whole skin, depending on what's underneath the paint here. We'll take a look. So please join us next week as we keep working on the 32.5 window coupes. Please like, share, tag, and subscribe. And of course, please send me your comments. I'd love to hear from you. Everybody take care and have a great week.